Let's talk about the guys that will be back this year. This is the NFL deadline. And again, the deadline isn't technically, as we sit here record, it's a 6:20 here on Monday night. Technically, deadline's not till midnight, but Michigan's NFL draft decisions are in. The guys that declared wound up being the ones that weren't all that surprising. Mozzie Smith, Mike Morris are in the draft. Both starting corners, Jamon Green, DJ Turner. Other than that, unless I'm missing someone, everyone that has eligibility remaining is back. Blake Corum, Trevor Keegan, Zach Zinter, Mike Barrett. There have been so many guys. Chris
Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Hayes had him another year, didn't he? But he was already that year.
Ronnie Bell had another year, but those were kind of ones where they had Senior Bowl invites, a month and a half ago. So
So good luck to them and what they did for the program. It'll never be forgotten. It's amazing how much crap Ronnie Bell took on message boards and stuff like that. And this guy is going to go down as part of the winningest, a huge part of one of the winningest 2-year stretches in Michigan football history. Same with Ryan Hayes. So good for them.
Well, now that we kind of have a full picture of how this roster looks, you got, as we said earlier, you got these guys back. You have the 7 guys who are all going to play some sort of impact via the transfer portal, and there might even be more. I know that window closes in a couple days and will open again after spring football, I believe. But, this roster still might not be complete, but even with what they have, they're running it back. I mean, this is basically, when you look at key contributors, there are some spots like at wide receiver, like at cornerback, where some new guys are going to have to step up. But guys, this roster, the bones and the framework and the leadership structure, most importantly, I think is intact. And I don't think anyone can really shy away from it. You look at the guys that are back, this could be a preseason top 2 team. I'll stop short of saying national title or bust. That's really hard to do, but
playoff or bust, maybe.
It's a playoff or bust team. And I'd even go as far to say it's a playoff win or bust situation at this point.
Yeah, which is hard because just imagine if Alabama had sneaked in there instead of TCU, and and who knows? You know what? It is what it is. But that would have been a much tougher game, and Michigan couldn't get it done against TCU. They really missed an opportunity there. But just get to the playoff and see what happens. You know what? I think you could get there with one loss in the Big Ten. You hope it doesn't happen, but had some tough games this year. Penn State's going to be better, right? And I think Ohio State coming here without CJ Stroud, that's going to give them a better opportunity. No, I'm just kidding. But it would have been interesting, though, right? If he'd come back and how much pressure would have been on that kid? My entire legacy now. Could you imagine losing 3 in a row? I think wasn't Kirk Herbstreit the last guy to do that. So anyway. But
I think so.
But hey, this is going to be a great football team. It was almost boring at times this year, guys. And by that, I mean, you knew it was coming. It was really methodical the way they handled teams, and they're wearing them down. And then by the fourth quarter, you're punching teams in the mouth, and, they're dropping like flies, and then you get your win. And it's like, it reminded me of the 1990s and the 80s when you were just kind of rolling through the schedule. You might have a little hiccup or a close game here or there, Illinois this year, but you knew it was coming. And I'm signed up for more of that. And you know what? Keep signing me up for that. I'm good with that. I want them to run the ball just as much as they did. I don't give a crap how much they throw. If they're going to go 13-0, they could throw 4 times a game, as far as I'm concerned. It's not about style points. It's about winning. These guys know how to win. These guys are the ones that changed the culture of this program, along with some of their guys, obviously, that left last year, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, and those guys. So now you're back to expecting it to rub off on the classes coming behind you and for this thing to continue.
I want to hear my guy Chris Balas, two seats away from me during the game, typing furiously right in his column, because he knows what's going to happen at the end of the game, right? With so many big wins for Michigan, games where you kind of knew what was going to happen. They're going to get a lead.
Yep.
They're going to run the ball, control the clock, and the pass rush is going to get after the other team. It was just that same formula over and over and over until the TCU game, which was obviously crazy. But I agree. I think this team. And I tweeted this last night, where, to me, watching the early years of the Jim Harbaugh era, the middle years of the Jim Harbaugh era, years before that, really in my lifetime, haven't been as blessed as some of the others that saw some of the other golden ages of Michigan football. But it speaks to the culture that's here, that there are guys like Donovan Edwards who could have opted out or not played, in some of those final games due to a hand injury. There are other guys that were dealing with stuff. Mike Morris tries to play against Ohio State. Blake Corum plays on a torn meniscus and sprained MCL for 5 snaps against Ohio State until he is told he can't go any longer. That stuff, and the fact that these guys are coming back for another year because a college football playoff appearance wasn't good enough, speaks volumes about the culture that they have built and this coaching staff has built. And it's been just amazing to follow. In terms of expectations, it's really hard for me to say national championship or bust, or even national title game or bust, just because I do think it would be another success if you beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten. That's kind of the expectation, or not expectation, but that to me, it's not a bust. You want to win it all. You know the guys in that locker room want to win it all. You know that Blake Corum and all those guys have talked about that as being the ultimate goal, and it absolutely should be. But I still think it'd be a big success if they were able to three-peat, which is really, really hard to do, especially in this landscape. And then last thing for me in terms of this, but just talking about the guys that are coming back. To me, again, for a third straight year, it's going to be the offensive line that is, maybe other than running back, the strongest thing on this team. Anthony and I were out at a camp today that was featuring Donovan Edwards, Colston Loveland, and Will Johnson, and we got to talk a little bit to Donovan Edwards' dad, who's a great guy and was super friendly with us. And we were kind of rattling off some of the O linemen that are coming back. And even a couple of them, I said, like Zach Sinter and Trevor. He's like, oh, that's right. Zach Sinter, guys like that sprung his son on, some of the biggest runs of the season. It's exciting to think about the identity of this team being a smash mouth group that leans on that offensive line. And you got a unanimous All-American running back coming back in Donovan Edwards. Offense is going to be good. Defense is pretty loaded again. You have 15 of 22 starters. This is going to be, Anthony, I see where you're coming from in terms of potential national title or bust. I'm not quite there, but I think this team has a legit shot to win it. Expectations going to be sky high. And as Chris, you wrote last week, they're going to be the Big Ten favorite this year, especially with the Stroud decision. And it's going to be a fun lead up to this year.
I don't know. Michigan State's a sleeper for the playoff, remember, according to Tom Fornelli or somebody like that. I don't know who it was. Let me ask you this, AB. Does Donovan Edwards' dad have a high squeaky voice?
No, but it's not as deep as
it's not as deep as Donovan's.
No one's is.
I was thinking that'd be awesome.
If I spoke to Donovan Edwards on the phone, I might think I was talking to his father. Honestly,
really? Okay.
Yeah,
I just thought it'd be great if his dad had this. Hey guys, and his kid's got the voice of God. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Very good family, good people. Yep. It's nice to catch up with some of them today and watch those guys give back too. I mean, I know these guys get paid to run these camps that they've been doing, but they genuinely seem happy to be there and to give back, and that's always cool to see. Just to address kind of the national title or bust thing, I think it's tough to say that. That's why I say, even probably what I had posted on the board was even a bit lofty. But at the same time, even when you watch what a team like Georgia did to TCU in the national title game, I'm not sitting here saying that would have happened to Michigan, but you look at some of those schools from the South and the talent that they just bring in is insane. And they're going to do that to a lot of people they play, especially when they get out of their own conference. So national title or bust, we can have a debate about that. But, if they're ranked number 2 in the country and you look at the roster they have, I think I would be a little upset if they did not upset. That's not the right way to put it. But the fact that they had been to 2 playoffs and that they let this one slip away this past year, but it would, at some point you want to break through that next level. I think what Michigan is as a program, just in terms of the caliber at which they can recruit and kind of the noise they can make, I don't think it's unforeseen that they can do what Clemson's done, especially if they keep bringing in talent at quarterback. I mean, that's really when things flipped for Dabo down there, was when, you had Deshaun Watson into Trevor Lawrence. And, if you go from let's just say there's a scenario where you have J.J. McCarthy for the next 2 years, then you flipped over to, say, a Jaden Davis or whoever it might be. That's, I think, what's been proven. And, at least we've talked about this too, in terms of what the offense could look like. I mean, it will look like it has looked, but I do think they stumbled on something a bit in the Fiesta Bowl, and that, unleashing J.J. McCarthy's legs a little bit more, not even necessarily his arm, more so what he can do with his legs. And quarterback play is ultimately is what is going to keep you in that conversation. And I haven't been shy about saying that I think that JJ will have a a big off season and kind of pop next year as even more of a dual threat guy. So any other final thoughts on the roster? I mean, it was interesting to me. I know Chris Jenkins had told you guys at the bowl game that he had planned on coming back. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Pete Thamel says that he was considering it. And then today, obviously, he drops the news that he will be returning to Michigan. But none of these really, I guess Corum to me would be the biggest surprise. But everyone else, it does feel like when they cite unfinished business, it does feel like everyone could stand to maybe improve their stock a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Zinter is a big surprise too. Corum didn't surprise me as much because we learned immediately after his injury that, hey, I got, you know what, can I leave like this? You know, and that's what I love about that kid. Can I leave Michigan like this? He's going to be a captain, flat out. I mean, they should vote today. You know what, and put it out there because he's going to be a captain. But Chris Jenkins did say, he told me directly, he said, yes, I'm absolutely coming back. We must get back here. It's not an option. So that's why it wasn't really surprising. These guys want theirs, guys. They want their NIL money. And that's another thing we can go back to with the Ward Manuel Santa Ono thing. Santa Ono wants them to be number one when it comes to making sure that their kids are taken care of as well. So, and I think they've made strides there. We hear a lot of fans complaining about it, but guys on our board who are part of that Champions Circle collective, Valiant Management and all that, are doing a great job. That one more year campaign, huge success. And when I sat down with those guys about 2 months ago or a month ago, you know, and I said, you know, it's really you should start by trying to get these guys back for another year or to stay, you know, rather than bolting for the money. And they said, absolutely, that's a goal. And guess what? Here we are. So, but you still need elite recruits, guys, to convince to come back, right? You can have a senior laden team and still be Indiana if you don't recruit well initially. And the transfer portal should only be to plug gaps, not to fill your roster. So there's still a sweet spot that they have to find. You know, when you said, Anthony, you know, you're at Michigan, you'll be able to recruit like this. I agree with that as long as they figure NIL out. And that's still something that they're working on. There is a big announcement coming, an announcement in which they are going to sign with a massive agency that's going to provide deals for kids across all sports. So keep an eye on that. We are not giving a timetable because the last time I did that, I got killed. So we won't do that, but it is coming. We can promise you. I did get an update from somebody working directly on it. They said it's still with the lawyers. They're still ironing out some details. Guys, this is a first-time thing. Okay, this is a unique thing. So just show a little patience here, and they're making progress.
Real quick, are you taking credit for the one more year fund?
Am I?
Yeah.
Only if I would have won the lottery. I contributed. So, but
the idea.
No, but when I told one of the guys working directly with it, and he said that's exactly what I've been saying. You know, you've got to get these guys. You can get these guys back. It's like Blake Corum coming back is like getting a 5-star, like a top 5 guy in the country, you know, for a year. So to me, that's where recruiting starts, is getting these guys back. And you know what? So no, I'm not taking credit for it, but it just seemed to make sense. And the fact that they agreed with it, you know what? It made me feel better because it really made me think that these guys really knew what they were doing.
No, I'm just messing with you.
I know you are.
Yeah, it is a great idea. And I said this when Hunter Dickinson came back as well and talked about getting his degree. NIL incentivizes, as much as I hate NIL and talking about it and how corrupt college football has become, it incentivizes getting a degree, staying in college, that sort of thing. And I like that. And as a fan of college football, you're seeing more guys come back in college basketball as well. And that, you know, that excites me. But yeah, I mean, that's huge. And I will say this as well. They do have a ways to go. And we talked about how NIL hindered that 2023 recruiting class. But seeing this, if you're a recruit, seeing that it looks like these guys are being taken care of and they want to come back, top players in the country like Blake Corum, PFF says he's the best returning college football player in the entire country. Guys like that, that's got to, you know, give you a little more reassurance that you're going to get taken care of if you come to Michigan as well. So you can kind of feel a little bit of momentum there. And reading some of the reports from our recruiting guys, EJ Holland and Zach Libby, it sounds like they are making some positive waves in the 2024 class. They have a pretty good 3-4 guys already. And, you know, it seems like they kind of were more in with some of those kids than 23 anyway, knowing that they could potentially get it figured out in time. So that's huge as well, because you want to keep this thing going as well. You have some young talent right now, but you got to get another crop underneath them.
Yeah, I guess final thought here for me is that we were actually, Clayton and I talked about this on the drive back. I think it was back from the camp today, where ultimately recruits are lotto tickets, and 5-star recruits, 4-star recruits. These guys are graded at least by modern sort of recruiting rankings based on what the pundits and the rankers feel like your chances of being an NFL player are. And if you're not going to bring in the blue chip guys, again, it's just kind of like sticking, the Dutch boy sticking his finger in the dam right now, right? You're getting NFL players back, you don't have as many lotto tickets, but you're getting proven guys back that you might not have gotten in recent years. And, for this year, it works. And for what this window is, it works. So props to them for that.